It's a record-breaking snowfall for the month of January. Good evening, I'm Michelle Imperato. Officials in Brazil say about 400 people are missing after massive flooding caused devastating mudslides near Rio de Janeiro. Breaking news tonight, a disabled Elmont man died in a house fire after being trapped by the flames and a partial building collapse. And coming up on the news at 11, the local zip code that sees more mail than anywhere else in the country, and believe it or not, it's not New York City. Now that the governor has support from the majority of voters, analysts say what's most important is what he does next. In order to keep his high approval rating, Cuomo's going to have to make good on some promises. The news at 11 is taking another look at ways you can get the most bang for your buck. Tonight, we show you how you can get designer clothes for not-so-designer prices. Speaking of endorsements, you have a pretty big endorsement. A couple of weeks ago, you were endorsed by Newt Gingrich. He came here to lobby for you. That's huge on your part. How do you feel about that kind of endorsement? Now, according to the Long Island Index, if just half of the 8,300 vacant acres in Long Island's downtowns were developed into more housing, this would create 90,000 more housing units, mostly rentals, which would be better than continuing to pursue the single-family model, because to do it that way would require using up every last acre of remaining open space here on Long Island. Tonight, sources are reporting the Obama administration and European allies are prepared to place additional sanctions on Iran if it does not prove its nuclear program is peaceful. I think when we have a winter like this, we should be guaranteed an early spring and a perfect summer. Now, one of the ways the town saves some money is with this piece of equipment right here. And what it does is it takes these hardened pieces of the sand-salt mixture that have already been used on our roadways, and through this screen, it breaks them down back into their original form so it can be used again. Time now for sports with Kurt Semder. It's so exciting. Super Bowl week has begun. All right, thanks, David. And now our other big story tonight. The investigation took years, more than 800 agents, and the creation of a special processing center in Fort Hamilton, Brooklyn. And as our Christina Renault reports today, federal officials announced they've rounded up dozens of La Cosa Nostra's most dangerous leaders and members. This week, President Obama said that he is on schedule to withdraw troops from Iraq, and he's saying this was his original plan to have the majority of troops out of the area by the end of this month, and he said this week that is going to happen. Do you think that this is the right move to make? Are we ready for this? Are they ready for this? And our Kurt Semder will have more on the Giants game played in Detroit tonight later on in sports. Can you believe how much snow we're getting to the west? And we're getting a little taste of that tonight. That was a few days ago, and the very latest on this situation is there was a meeting yesterday between a few people at the legislature and Ronald Stack. And at that meeting, he was saying he doesn't like the county executive's plans to borrow roughly $80 million for this year's or next year's budget. So what are your feelings on this? You were at that meeting. Could you give us a little insight? After being shot in the head on Saturday, the neurosurgeon treating Gifford says she has shown some positive signs of recovery, including raising 2 fingers on her left hand and giving a thumbs up. At this point, her CAT scan doesn't show any further progression of swelling, but she's not out of the woods just yet. And finally tonight, one local business is putting its money where its mouth is when it comes to rooting for the Jets. We've been talking about the Huntington Station area, so basically I want to give you some statistics of the area. In 2008, there were 137 violent crimes and 131 violent crimes in 2009, but police say that there has actually been a 32% decrease in violent crimes in the first 9 months of this year compared to last year. But recently, parents have been quite vocal about the situation that's been going on, and the school there, the Jack Abrams School, was closed down. What are your feelings on closing down an entire school over some violence? And I'm Michelle Imperato. Thank you for watching. Inside Edition is next. Have a wonderful night. And I'm Michelle Imperato. Residents are still in disbelief tonight. Many say they've never seen anything like the storm that hit their communities earlier tonight.
I don't think so, but it sounded like a continuous roaring like a train going by, and then all of a sudden we hear this pounding. It must have been hailing.
Catherine Boscarino is describing what it sounded like when a quick but vicious storm swept through the city tonight. Boscarino and her neighbors planted every tree here on 183rd Street in Fresh Meadows over 50 years ago, and tonight this massive tree in front of her neighbor's house ripped down power lines as it toppled, knocking out power on most of the block.
We have just candles running in the house right now, and I just put some batteries in the radio, so we're listening to portable radio, fortunately. We can't believe the devastation that took place on this street. It's the first time in my whole life that I've ever seen anything like this happen.
Nearly every block in the area has visible remnants of the storm, and traffic was backed up for miles on every highway. The National Weather Service issued a tornado warning for Staten Island and Brooklyn, and a severe weather alert for Queens, Brooklyn, and southern Nassau.
a sheet of water and then wind, and the windows were howling. I've never seen anything like it. It was just total chaos, it seemed like.
Dan Carroll lives at this complex on 184th Street, and as the superintendent, he surveyed the damage and immediately called a service to help with the cleanup.
We're going to free up all the entranceways and clear the sidewalks, work all night through.
And as of late tonight, there are reports that some 20,000 customers are without power, but Con Edison has not yet released an exact number. She's been using her lemonade stand to raise money for various causes over the years, and her latest project has received some national attention.
Lemonade! 11-year-old Sarah Connor sells lemonade outside of her house in Northport to raise money to replant trees right here on Main Street.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
The 6th grader at Northport Middle School launched her business Lemonade last year on Earth Day.
I want to plant 20 trees, and each tree costs about $200, so gotta raise a lot of money.
Sarah only sets up her lemonade stand on Memorial Day and Cow Harbor Day during the parades, but over the summer, Sarah put jars in local stores that read, "Your change can make a change in Northport." She raised $259, enough for one tree. But Sarah's hometown effort just got a big boost from a U.S.-based nonprofit called Eco Heroes. The organization awarded her $400 to help further her cause.
I feel very excited that I'm 2 trees closer to my goal.
The village has agreed to plant the trees once Sarah reaches her goal, and it's no surprise that Mom and Dad are extremely proud of their little girl.
I've seen how much influence one person can have, and I think even more so when that person is a child, people are really inspired and touched by the passion that a child can feel.
And Sarah is hoping to inspire other children as well with her website projectlemonade.org and as a blogger come October.
I feel like I'm making a very big difference, and I think other people can make differences, and other people might be inspired by environmental things that have been going on in their community.
And if you want to help Sarah reach her goal of $4,000, you can stop by her stand this Sunday at the Cow Harbor Day Parade, or you can go to projectlemonade.org.
And is she running for governor?
She is one smart little girl. It's the concept of mixed-use zoning to include rental housing for young people to create cool downtowns. And tonight, in our special report, Main Street Makeover, we take a closer look at how the approach has fared in 2 major Nassau communities.
In our case, it's helped immensely.
Larry Monticelli has owned the restaurant and pub Eleanor Rigby's in the heart of Mineola for the last 16 years. Just recently, he says, he's seen a spike in business and his property values are back on the rise. Monticelli attributes this to all the new development in the downtown area.
I'm starting to see a little younger mix of people because of the apartments. It seems like it's getting to be a little bit more vibrant at night. There's more restaurants that have opened up. I'm starting to see increase, like on a Tuesday night. All our booths, our tables will fill up, where as years ago it didn't.
Mineola's heavy daytime foot traffic is a result of the Mineola train station, Winthrop Hospital, the nearby courthouses, and dozens of office buildings and businesses in the downtown area. But the new apartment complexes and condominiums, including this brand new 22-unit building, are helping to boost its nightlife, and the village is committed to bringing in even more buyers and renters. A number of large and small-scale projects are already in the works, including a 275-unit apartment complex proposed to be built on Old Country Road, and there are plans to convert office building and retail space into 28 one-bedroom apartments.
I think we have to make room for everybody.
34-year Mineola resident Ann Hurley understands the need for more housing on Long Island, and she says she's not at all put off by big development if there's enough space to accommodate.
I think it's wonderful, and ultimately it's going to affect everyone's taxes, giving us a lower tax base if we're bringing in people to a vibrant business community.
Now, according to the Long Island Index, if just half of the 8,300 vacant acres in Long Island's downtowns were developed into more housing, this would create 90,000 more housing units, mostly rentals, which would be better than continuing to pursue the single-family model, because to do it that way would require using up every last acre of remaining open space here on Long Island.
Mineola is actually considered an ideal downtown for this type of of development. The village created special zoning to fast-track projects that were tied into the train station to get people to use mass transit and projects that help jumpstart the economy. But other areas looking for the same end result haven't had such a smooth approval process.
This land here is what's called a former Superfund site. It's part of a larger proposal called the Glen Isle project here in the city of Glen Cove. The project is a mixed-use development that's been on the table for years.
This property was cleaned up.
Glen Cove Mayor Ralph Swazi says this whole area has been a part of the urban renewal project since the 1950s. The plans for the development have changed a few times throughout the decades, but now the redevelopers have decided mixed use is the way to go. As the proposal stands now, Glen Isle will have 860 housing units, 10% of which will be more affordable rentals. A luxury hotel, spa, offices, retail shops, marinas, and museums are also in the picture.
You create economic activity. You create new users, create a higher tax base. It'll help the city, and you have really the city, which is a hub already, will become a place where our restaurants will support these people, our stores will support these people. It's just good activity for the town.
But lifelong resident David Dennison, like many others, feels Glen Isle just isn't right for Glen Cove.
I kind of feel that it's going to cause traffic problems. I think it's going to ruin the feel of a suburban area. It's going to become more Queens-like.
The mayor says he understands there are concerns over the look of the project, but insists the RXR Glen Isle team has taken the character of the city into consideration with the design. Progress with the development has slowed down while the redevelopers complete the draft environmental impact statement. But Swazi says he hopes to have a shovel in the ground within the next year and a half.
The idea is to make a reasonable decision that'll help your town sustain itself now in good and bad economic times, and that fits what's going on around us. We can't just keep doing what we did in the past and expect different outcomes. That's actually a definition of insanity that Einstein proposed.
And tomorrow we'll focus on Main Street makeovers in Suffolk County and the obstacles they still face there.